So I recently noticed this YouTube trend that people are answering Google's most asked questions. So I thought to myself, what could I answer that people typically search on Google? So of course, as you can see, I'm black. But I felt like everyone is answering the most Googled questions about black people. Or I answered Google's most asked questions about black people. So I decided that I was going to answer Google questions about New Yorkers. So I'm going to grab my laptop and we're going to dive right in. Okay, so let's start with, I guess, do New Yorkers? All right, so do New Yorkers. Okay, so the first one that pops up is, do New Yorkers have to pay rent? I totally understand why so many people are wondering that. Yes, all New Yorkers have to pay rent, but it doesn't mean they're the ones paying it. So I actually work as a real estate paralegal, and I've seen it all. There are people that pay their rent in quarters. There are people that have the government pay their rent. So that means they're part of programs such as Link, Section 8, welfare, all these different government programs that they basically subsidize their rent. So some people may only have to pay $50 for a $1,000 apartment, while other people have to pay $1,500 for an apartment that's literally worth like $800. So New York is kind of weird in that sense. It depends where you live, if your building or your particular apartment is rent subsidized itself. So you could live in like a 5-star mansion and pay like $100 for rent. And that's because it's rent subsidized. If anyone is interested on finding out more about New York rent or like rent laws or like how much it costs to live in an apartment in any part of New York, comment below New York rent. And I will do another video more in depth. I might even do a couple apartment tours, who knows? But yeah, the long, short answer, yeah, that's redundant, but you know what I mean, is that we have to pay rent. All New Yorkers pay a rent or a mortgage. Do New Yorkers need to quarantine in Florida? Yeah. So originally, I think Florida did not have like a strict quarantine rule. So a lot of people were driving from New York to Florida. They were catching the next flight out to like Fort Lauderdale, and they were having a fine time Cherie in Jacksonville on the beach. But now I believe that New York has not only closed its borders to people coming in from Florida, but if you go to Florida from New York, you have to stay inside for, I think, 5 days. I know if you come from anywhere and you come to New York, it's like a 14-day mandatory quarantine, but I think Florida, it's like 5 to 7 days. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. Next question is, do New Yorkers have to self-quarantine in Florida? That's the same question. Okay, do New Yorkers have to wear masks? So I guess this is what New Yorkers do quarantine style, which is understandable. Everyone is trying to wrap their heads around like all these precautions for COVID-19. Yes, all New Yorkers by law have to wear masks. And we are actually not allowed to wear surgical masks. So we're not supposed to wear N95 masks or like certain, the blue masks with like the white inside. You see a lot of people wearing the cheaper version of those rather than the ones that are surgical grade. And that's because the law basically states that everyone has to have a face covering, whether it be a handkerchief, not a do-rag, what is it? Like the scarves that people used to wear back in like the early... I'll put a picture of it. So they have to wear a handkerchief, a scarf, or a non-essential mask because they want the fancy, like, the masks that actually work to go to all the people sacrificing in the hospitals, which is understandable. So yeah, we do have to wear masks. Do New Yorkers have an accent? Yeah, So all New Yorkers have an accent. A lot of us sound like how I sound right now, which is, well, actually no, New Yorkers sound like a lot of things. So my accent is a New York accent, but it has like hints of like Caribbean dialects and whatnot because my family is Caribbean. You have other New Yorkers who sound like this with a hint of like African, a hint of Chinese, a hint of French. And then you have like the forget about it, like the real old school Italian New Yorkers that they got that slang, you know, they know what it is. And yeah, that was a very bad example. But yeah, if you like watch any comedy show, there was like, oh yeah, New York taxi drivers sound like forget about it. And I'm like, that's so drawn out. And most of the taxi drivers here now are Middle Eastern. So a lot of them you know, I thought about that. Let me not imitate that accent because, yeah, I don't want to come off offensive. But they have like a very Indian-esque accent. So it sounds kind of like how like the Guyanese or Trinidadian New Yorkers sound, but more with a Middle Eastern twist. So yeah, all New Yorkers have an accent. If you're from the Bronx, you probably like chop it up like this. If you're from Brooklyn, you probably got that Pop Smoke. So, you know, all New Yorkers have an accent, but it depends. 50 Cent too, he has like a Queens accent, which is rare. I feel like Queens and Long Island, they have like their own thing that's going on. Yeah. Do New Yorkers have to quarantine? Yes, so most New Yorkers have not left their house since March. That is a fact. Like, that's not debatable. A lot of people I know are only getting delivery. So they have their groceries delivered, they're having clothes delivered, they're having toilet tissue delivered. They have not left their house since March. There are other New Yorkers who, they kind of like take their kids and their dogs or what other pet they have or what other person they take care of outside for a little bit, and then they probably like, they do like a 4 days in, 3 days out, and they space it out periodically. Everyone's trying their best to be safe, and then they got people that they don't care. Like, they have people that's laying out in Central Park, and they've been in Central Park, they run, they jog, they're kissing, they're doing everything like life was normal before. They're eating inside the restaurant, which is illegal, and I've seen fights break out, like, you can't eat in here, you can't eat, you gotta get out, we gotta sit six feet apart, and they don't care, because they're just like, oh, I'm a New Yorker, I'm strong, and no, this is not the time. Do New Yorkers have to quarantine in Massachusetts? I don't know. Do New Yorkers have to quarantine in California? So I know that New Yorkers, I think if you're a New Yorker and you are stuck in California, you can't come back right now. So if I remember correctly, like Mexico, Canada, and California, and yes, I know I named 2 other countries and then I named a state. Those places, regions, they cannot come into New York right now because they're having spikes in their COVID numbers. So, you know, that might change. Do New Yorkers have to wear a mask? Okay, these are all getting redundant. So let's type in something else. Let's do, why do New Yorkers? Okay, why do New Yorkers say online? Whoever asked that, all of y'all asking that, y'all not nice. Comment below if you're one of the people asking that, because that's legitimately an accent thing. So it's like almost like the thing I keep mentioning with like the what's up or like the forget about it. It's just like instead of saying like online, we tend to say online. Like it sounds like 2 chopped up words. It's just like how a New York slang or like this particular dialect sounds. All right. Why do New Yorkers fold pizza? Have you ever had New York pizza? If you have a really good slice of pepperoni, you know that the oil is dripping off it. Like that's enough said, that's it. Like the oil, you gotta fold that bad boy in half. We don't eat pizza with no knife and fork. That's a dub. So you gotta fold your pizza in half and like you let it drip on the little, you know, like I guess parchment paper or like that little clear paper that they put on top the paper plate. You gotta let it drip on that for a little bit, like kind of wave it off, you know, kind of lean back, and then take your bite. So if you were to just like eat the pizza straight, it would just like get everywhere. It's gonna get on your clothes. So you fold it, you let it drip, and then you take your bite and you just talk to whoever you chopping it up with at the time. So the next question is, why do New Yorkers hate New Jersey? Okay, so this is a guilty pleasure. New Yorkers love to hate on Jersey. We don't even have a name for them. So it's like when New Yorkers talk about people from Florida, it's like, oh, the Floridians, or like, oh, we call the people from Massachusetts like massholes, or like Bostonians. So New Jersey, like, we don't rate them, like, winnerate them to a point where like, it's just like, over there, yeah, Jersey. Like, we don't even refer to them as the Garden State, which is so funny because whenever you have someone that grew up in New Jersey and then they live in New York, they're always like, oh, you know, the Garden State. Oh, you know, New Jersey. But then we're like, yeah, Jersey. So yeah, it's just like I don't know. It's just a funny thing. There's no particular reason for, wow, I can think of one reason. So New Jersey has a smell. Sorry, please don't click off if you're from New Jersey because you know I'm telling the truth. I think they burn trash there still. New Jersey definitely has like a odor, and you could tell what parts of New Jersey are rich by them not having that odor. So if you go to like Saddlebrook or you go to like Princeton, it smells good. Like it smells like lilies and daisies. But then like as soon as you drive over a GW bridge, like George Washington, and you hit like, oh my God, like you hit Fort Lee, or even worse, if you go to like Patterson or Newark, it's just like, ugh. So yeah, New York, there's so many reasons. And another thing too is like, anytime someone is fed up with New York, they take their business to New Jersey. So like right now with COVID-19, a lot of businesses that are leaving, they're not going to Connecticut. Like nobody for some reason wants to go to Connecticut. They all go to New Jersey. So there's like a little competition between New York and New Jersey where like, oh, I rap better because I'm from New York. Or that people will be like, oh, well, we have dance music because we're from New Jersey. So it's everything between New York and New Jersey is like a friendly competition. If anyone has a brother, like an older brother or sister, and it's like you love them to death and they're right next to you, and when shit hits the fan or like when times get tough, they're there for you. But on a regular basis, you like hate them. That's New York and New Jersey. Why do New Yorkers move to Florida? Okay, so like 95% of New Yorkers are immigrants. And I mean from everywhere. Like you could find a section, and even just the Bronx alone where I'm from, you could find little pockets of different races, different countries. Like we have a little Italy. Downtown we have, in Manhattan, we have Chinatown. They have like a Russian section and a Jewish section, Jewish Israeli, Jewish Russia, Jewish everything in Brooklyn. So there's different sections, and all those people love warm weather. Especially when you get old, you get tired of shoveling snow in December. Like snow is very iffy here. Like last year, I got snow in March. Yeah, anyone watching from New York, comment below, because you remember we did not have snow for Christmas, which is madness. Like it's not Christmas if there's no snow. But then we got snow in March. So old people and immigrants, they don't want to deal with that. A lot of the Jews, they go to Boca. A lot of the Dominicans, they go to Miami. The Jamaicans be in Tampa. Like New Yorkers go everywhere in Florida, or they'll have both. Like a lot of New Yorkers, they have like a vacation home. So they'll be like, oh yeah, I go to Palm Springs. I go to Fort Lauderdale. I have my vacation home in Orlando near the resorts. So it's kind of just like it's a weird thing where like New Yorkers will hate on Florida, but then as soon as they hit like 60, they're like, oh yeah, I'm moving to Florida, I'm selling my house. The next question is, why do New Yorkers clap at 7 p.m.? Do we do that? That's a thing? I'm gonna look this up. 7 p.m. clap because we can. Oh, yeah, my nieces do this, but people, like children do it at 7 a.m. This is another like COVID-19 related thing. So we clap for all the hospital workers, all the caretakers, anyone that's making themselves perceptible to this terrible disease, I guess. Terrible virus. That's it. Terrible virus. We just clap to show them we appreciate them. People don't really do that in the Bronx or in Brooklyn or Queens. That's like a Manhattan thing, so like a New York City thing. But you see people drive by in cars for like graduations and they clap, or they'll drive by the hospitals. Like there's so many hospitals. Most of them are Montefiore at this point, or like, yeah, most of them are Montefiore. But yeah, we clap to show we appreciate everyone for what they're doing and trying to keep us safe. So why do New Yorkers hate the Bronx? Yeah, so this is like, New Yorkers don't hate the Bronx. People from Brooklyn hate the Bronx. So it's like a weird thing. This is kind of like the New Jersey, New York thing. People from the Bronx hate Brooklyn. People from Brooklyn hate the Bronx. A lot of that has to do with what we see in the news. Honestly, I have cousins that are in Brooklyn, and every day they're like, yo, someone got shot in the Bronx again. Or they'll be like, yo, I can't believe. And I'm just like, but then when I'm watching the news, I just see person gets stabbed on the 6 train, and I'm like, so it's a mix of like, we're getting fed this, they're getting fed that. And then it's also has to do a lot with music. So music is a big aspect of being a New Yorker. Everybody knows Bronx has like Big Pun, well, rest in peace, Fat Joe, Remy Ma, Cardi B, A Boogie. We have like, the list goes on. We have artists from back in the 80s. Like the Bronx has been consistently pushing out great artists for years, and we have our own style, our own sense of fashion. Whereas Brooklyn, and I'm not hating on Brooklyn, because Brooklyn, they have amazing people too. I'm pretty sure Jay-Z is from Brooklyn. This is how you know I'm from the Bronx, because there's tons of Brooklyn artists, and I can't think of another one right now. But yeah, comment below if you know a Brooklyn artist that's poppin'. Oh, of course, Pop Smoke. And we had Kuda B, he was cool for a minute. 6ix9ine. They have more so like SoundCloud rappers in Brooklyn. Yeah, everybody from Brooklyn they shooting at me right now because I said they only have SoundCloud rappers, but they do. Like, Brooklyn is a different kind of vibe. And Brooklyn rap is more so like, almost like London drill rap. Like, it's really in your face. It's really like we was in the club and then we got these bands and we picked up these girls and we robbed this bank. Bronx rap is more so like, and I'm a da-da-da-da, I'm a da-da-da-da, I'm the best in the world, I'm a and so it's like, yeah, we're not gonna comment on my dancing. So it's a different kind of vibe altogether. The next question is, why do New Yorkers love Florida? I answered that. Why do New Yorkers move to New Jersey? So this is the last question I'm going to answer for this video. New Yorkers move to New Jersey because they can't afford to live in New York. So typically, people want to work in New York, but they don't want to live here because it's expensive. So you could live in a shoebox and pay $3,000 a month for it. Whereas in New Jersey, you could have like a 3-bedroom apartment and pay like $1,000 for it. So people don't mind jumping on the New Jersey Penn, or like the PAT train, and coming into the city to work. And then you get a lot of tax breaks as well. So if you work in New York, and let's say you're making like, I'm gonna say a low number, but like, let's say you're making $1,000 a month in New York. That money will stretch longer in New Jersey. The grocery store is cheaper, rent is cheaper, and at the end of the year, even though you're gonna pay New Jersey and New York taxes, the New Jersey taxes are typically cheaper. So it sucks for people that work in New Jersey and live in New York, because then at the end of the year, they typically like pay back so much money that it's not worth it. Another reason is that a backyard. Yeah, so I have a backyard. Almost everyone in like Park Slope, Brooklyn, the Upper East Side or Riverdale of the Bronx, all of Queens, and Staten Island, which we don't discuss. but Staten Island, they have like backyards, this huge space. But if you live in a city, or if you live in like the South, if anything, so if you live in downtown Brooklyn or like the South Bronx, you don't have a backyard. So typically those people love to move to New Jersey because their kids get space to play, they get space to have a barbecue, because everyone always makes fun of the fact that New Yorkers barbecue on the sidewalk. That is a Harlem thing, sweetie. Please don't call all of us out for that. We're not all using those weird little grills and barbecuing. Some of us either moved to New Jersey or we have a backyard here. But yeah, and tons of celebrities, they prefer to work downtown Manhattan and then have like mansions in New Jersey. Like New Jersey kind of looks like Georgia. Like the mansions there give you like this down south vibe that's like pretty like, whoa. So those are the most asked questions on why New Yorkers do what they do. And yeah, that's about it. Like, we're just New Yorkers. We just have our own thing. But to end this video, I'll just like to say shout out to everyone in New York who's going through this crazy pandemic right now. We're dealing with the back and forth and what we can do and what we can't do, and we're trying our best to get through it and to make this city the best city in the world like it was at one point. And we're trying to get Wall Street back up there. We're trying our best to do everything to be New Yorkers. So New York strong. Thank you. Please subscribe. Please like this video if you liked what I had to say. And if you had any questions about New Yorkers that I didn't answer, comment below. I'll do a part 2. So thank you again.